There was a just and wise king who ruled a rich and prosperous kingdom. He had a loyal and intelligent advisor who helped him manage the affairs of the country and maintain the welfare of the people. The advisor was loved by the king and the general public. He did good, supported the oppressed against the oppressor, and was kind to the poor. However, there were some greedy and corrupt ministers who envied the advisor's influence and popularity. They wanted to seize the country's wealth and exploit the people. They falsified evidence, arguments, and proofs, and convinced the king that the advisor had betrayed him, allied with his enemies, and planned to overthrow him. The king became very angry and ordered the advisor to be imprisoned in a dark and cold prison. The king loved his advisor very much, so he could not bring himself to kill or exile him. He announced a large reward for anyone who provided information that would further incriminate the advisor. The king wanted to be sure of his advisor's betrayal, as he was not completely convinced by what he had been told. One night, the king left his palace disguised as a shepherd and wandered through the alleys of the city to observe the people's condition and hear their conversations. Everywhere he went, he heard people speaking with sadness and sorrow about the advisor, praising his virtues and innocence, and lamenting the injustice and greed of the ministers. They also complained about high taxes and their declining standard of living. In one of the alleys, the king saw an old man crying bitterly at the door of his demolished house. He asked him the reason for his sadness. The man replied, "O passerby, this house belonged to me, my father, and my grandfather. I lived here with my wife and children, but one of the ministers came with his men, took everything from me, and claimed it was for tax collection on the king's orders. When I objected, they beat me, threw me out, and burned my house to the ground. Now, I own nothing and have no one to shelter me or have mercy on me. If the advisor had been here, this would not have happened. He protected us from injustice and oppression and worked for the good of the country and its people. But the evil ministers slandered him, imprisoned him, and led the king astray. I wish the king knew what was happening to us and would deliver justice to the advisor." The king tried to comfort the old man with hopeful words while ensuring he was not recognized. He then signaled to his disguised entourage to take note of the old man's situation. As the king continued walking, he saw a small infant crying loudly on the ground while his mother collected dried wheat grains from the dirt. She wept as she gathered the grains, tried to cover her hair with her torn veil, and lamented, "Where is justice? Should the king sleep soundly while his people are beaten, humiliated, and robbed before his eyes? Your justice, O God, your justice." The king's heart tightened with fear at her plea to God. He hurried to her and asked, "What happened here, virtuous sister?" She replied, "If you are from this land, then you know well the greed and injustice of the ministers. We had a just advisor who protected us after God, but the unjust king sentenced him to prison. If you are not from this country, then leave today before tomorrow, for there is no good left here." The king was deeply saddened and asked, "Did you say that the king is unjust?" "Yes, I said it, and I repeat it. We once believed otherwise." The advisor was generous, distributing aid in the king's name and reducing taxes by his order. But after he was imprisoned, we realized that he was the one who had improved the king's image in our eyes, she responded. At that moment, the king recognized his mistake in judging the advisor and understood that he had been deceived by the corrupt ministers. He felt deep remorse and resolved to right his wrongs. Determined to restore justice, he returned to his palace, needing no further proof of the advisor's loyalty. Meanwhile, the king's daughter, Princess Rosalind, loved the advisor, and he reciprocated her feelings. She secretly ordered the jailer to open the prison door so she could see him. The jailer, knowing her influence with the king, could not refuse her request. "Please, my princess, keep this a secret, or I will lose my head," the jailer pleaded. "Don't worry, you are under my protection," Rosalind reassured him. She entered the dark and cold cell, and the advisor was surprised to see her. "My Princess Rosalind, why did you risk yourself?" he asked. "Do you think I would leave you here alone? The king is outside the palace and will return soon. I have arranged your escape. I will send you a personal guard's uniform, including a metal helmet to conceal your face. You will wear it and leave unnoticed," she explained. The advisor, however, refused her plan. "No, I will not do such a thing, Rosalind. I have never betrayed the king, and I will not allow it to be said that I am a traitor or a coward. The truth must prevail. I will be patient and await the king's judgment." "Are you crazy? The king has been deceived by his ministers. He may order your execution," Rosalind protested. "My understanding of the king is different from yours. He is a father to you and the ruler of this country, but to me, he is a king, a father, a friend, a protector, and a just leader," the advisor replied. "Where is the justice in imprisoning you without hearing you out?" she demanded. "If he were unjust, he would have ordered my execution. Instead, he imprisoned me to ensure the truth for himself," he said. Rosalind sighed. "I do not understand you. How can you face the possibility of death with such calm?" Taking her hand, the advisor said, "My princess, soon we will be together. Let time take its course. Now return to your palace before anyone notices." Heartbroken, Rosalind bid him farewell and returned to her palace. Shortly afterward, the king arrived and immediately ordered the advisor to be brought before him. The advisor, worried that the king had learned of Rosalind's visit, feared for her safety, but as soon as he stood before the king, the ruler ordered his handcuffs removed, apologized for his actions, and restored him to his former position. He also commanded the arrest and trial of the corrupt ministers for their crimes against the people. To demonstrate his respect and love for the advisor, the king rewarded him by granting him the hand of his daughter, Rosalind, in marriage. The advisor was overjoyed and thanked the king for his generosity and justice. He promised to continue serving the kingdom with loyalty and integrity. And so, the story ended with justice restored and love triumphant.